everyone. My name is Elif and I am doing a read and a little bit of review with regards to the insights based on the book Conversations with God by Neil Donald Welsh. Okay, so I've done, I think, 3 episodes. I'm going through the book, touching on as many chapters as I can, because I think there's so much powerful information in this book. And you can watch or you can listen to it in the background as you feel, but I'm hoping that it inspires you to get the book, because I think our relationship with Source needs to be reviewed. I think we've been taught a lot of things about who and what God is, and most of our challenges are around sifting and sorting through what is true for us and what we've been told that we just sort of believe, and we're too afraid to challenge because we've been told not to challenge anything. I think having a harmonious, loving relationship with that which you call God, I call Source, is at the heart of a harmonious life. Okay, so I'm going to read, dive a little deeper into insights wherever I feel prompted to, and I hope you enjoy it. Comment whenever you feel inspired to do so. Let me know if you enjoy this, and I hope that you take a look at the previous episodes and stick around and do this read and review with me in the weeks to come. Okay, so I'm just going to continue sort of where I left off last. I'm on page 22, Conversations with God. Okay, let's start here. All right, so this is a book written by Neil Donald Welsh. He is a psychic writer. He channels communication from God through his writing, where he writes down a question and then he receives automatic writing in the form of answers from God. Okay, so I'm going to start with communication from God. Let's start here. The soul, your soul, knows all there is to know all the time. There's nothing hidden to it, nothing unknown, yet knowing is not enough. The soul seeks to experience. So there's nothing hidden to it, nothing unknown, yet knowing is not enough. The soul seeks to experience. I think one of our biggest questions is, why are we here? What is the purpose of us being here? Is it possible that it could be so simple? That the soul, that is I, that is self, is here to experience all that it is? And how would that shift how I see myself, how I see the world, if that were to be true, if that were to be a truth I could embrace? All right, let me continue. You can know yourself to be generous, but unless you do something which displays generosity, you have nothing but a concept. You can know yourself to be kind, but unless you do someone a kindness, you have nothing but an idea about yourself. It is your soul's only desire to turn its grandest concept about self into its greatest experience. Until concept becomes experience, all there is speculation. I have been speculating about myself for a long time, longer than you and I could collectively remember, longer than the age of this universe times the age of the universe. You see then how young is, how new is my experience of myself. And then Neil asks God, you've lost me again, your experience of yourself? Yes, let me explain it to you this way. In the beginning, that which is all there was, and there was nothing else. Yet all that is could not know itself, because all that is all there was. And there was nothing else, and so all that is was not. For in the absence of something else, all that is not. This is the great is not, is to which mystics have referred from the beginning of time. Now all that I knew, it was all there was. But this was not enough, for it could only know its utter magnificence conceptually, not experientially. Yet the experience of itself is that for which it longed, for it wanted to know what it felt like to be so magnificent. Still, this was impossible because the very term magnificent is a relative term. All that is could not know what it felt like to be magnificent unless that which is not showed up. In the absence of that which is not, that which is not. Do you understand this? It's quite a mouthful. I think so. Keep going, Neil says. And then God responds, all right. The one thing that all that is knew is that there was nothing else. And so it could and would never know itself from a reference point outside of itself. Such a point did not exist. Only one reference point existed, and that was the single place within. That is not, is the I am not. Still, the all of everything chose to know itself experientially. This energy, this pure, unseen, unheard, unobserved, and therefore unknown by anyone else, energy chose to experience itself as the utter magnificence it is. In order to do this, it realized it would have to use a reference point within. It reasoned quite correctly that any portion of itself would necessarily have to be less than the whole, and that if it thus simply divided itself into portions, each portion being less than the whole could look back on the rest of itself and see magnificence. And so all that is divided itself, becoming in one glorious moment that which is this. And that which is that. For the first time, this is that existed, quite apart from each other, and still both existed simultaneously, as did all that was neither. Thus, three elements suddenly existed: that which is here, that which is there, and that which is neither here nor there, but which must exist for here and there to exist. It is the nothing which holds the everything. It is the non-space which holds the space. It is the all which holds the parts. Can you understand this? Are you following this? Are you following this? The thing that pops into my mind is existence, and how what is described to as the this, which is everything and yet nothing at the same time, is that which is the God force. And how it divides itself into smaller parts, which is all of us and all of creation, so that it can experience itself relatively to many subjects as we show up in every moment. Tell me what you think about that. I'm going to continue, because God asks Neil, are you following this? And Neil says, I think I am actually, believe it or not. You have used such a clear illustration that I think I'm actually understanding this. And then God says, I'm going to go further. Now this nothing which holds the everything is what some people call God. Yet that is not accurate either. For it suggests that there is something God is not, namely everything that is not, nothing. But I am all things, seen and unseen. So this description of me as the great unseen, the no thing, or the space between, an essentially Eastern mystical definition of God is no more accurate than the essentially Western practical description of God as all that is seen. Those who believe that God is all that is and all that is not are those who understand, whose understanding is correct. Now, in creating that which is here and that which is there, God made it possible for God to know itself. In the moment of this great explosion from within, God created relativity, the greatest gift God ever gave itself. Thus, relationship is the greatest gift God ever gave to you. A point to be discussed in detail later. So this just speaks to me of how the God force is present in our relationships and how it mirrors to us where we are at and offers us the opportunity to recreate ourselves more each time we encounter ourselves in relation to another being, in relation to love and the things that we value, in relationship. And I think that's why relationships are so sacred, because it is our experience of the God force. That is us. Okay. For the no thing thus sprang the everything, a spiritual event entirely consistent, incidentally, with what your scientists call the Big Bang Theory. As the elements of all raced forth, time was created. For a thing was first here, then it was there, and the period it took to get from here to there was measurable, just as the parts of itself, which are seen, began to define themselves relative to each other, so too did the parts which are unseen. God knew that for love to exist and to know itself as pure love, its exact opposite had to exist as well. So God voluntarily created the great polarity, the absolute opposite of love, everything that love is not, what is now called fear. In the moment fear existed, love could exist as a thing that could be experienced. Because how do we experience love without the absence thereof? Okay. And here it is made clear that the opposite of love is fear. It is this creation of duality between love and its opposite, which humans refer to in their various mythologies as the birth of evil, the fall of Adam, the rebellion of Satan, and so forth. Just as you have chosen to personify pure love as the character you call God, so have you chosen to personify abject fear as the character you call the devil. Abject. Okay. Some on earth have established rather elaborate mythologies around this event, complete with scenarios of battles and war, angelic soldiers and devilish warriors, the forces of good and evil, of light and dark. This mythology has been mankind's early attempt to understand and tell others in a way they could understand a cosmic occurrence of which the human soul is deeply aware, but of which the mind can barely conceive. In rendering the universe as a divided vision, as a divided version of itself, God produced from pure energy all that now exists, both seen and unseen. In other words, not only was the physical universe thus created, but the metaphysical universe as well, the part of God which forms the second half of the am-not, am-equation, also exploded into an infinite number of units smaller than the whole. These energy units you would call spirits. In some of your religious mythologies, it is stated that God the Father had many spirit children. This parallel to the human experience of life multiplying itself seems to be the only way the masses could be made to hold in reality the idea of the sudden appearance the sudden existence of countless spirits in the kingdom of heaven. In this instance, your mythical tales and stories are not so far from the ultimate reality. For the endless spirits comprising the totality of me are, in a cosmic sense, my offspring. My divine purpose in dividing me was to create sufficient parts of me so that I could know myself experientially. There is only one way for the Creator to know itself experientially as the Creator, and that is to create. And so I gave to each of the countless parts of me, to all of my spirit children, the same power to create which I have as the whole. This is what your religions mean when they say that you were created in the image and likeness of God. This doesn't mean, as some have suggested, that our physical bodies look alike, although God can adopt whatever physical form God chooses for a particular purpose. It does mean that our existence is the same. We are composed of the same stuff. We as humans are composed of the same stuff. That is God. With all the same properties and abilities, including the ability to create physical reality out of thin air. My purpose in creating you, my spiritual offspring, was for me to know myself as God. I have no way to do that save through you. Thus it can be said, and has been many, many times, that my purpose for you is that you should know yourself as me. My purpose for you is that you should know yourself as me, God says. This seems so amazingly simple, yet it becomes very complex because there is only one way for you to know yourself as me, and that is for you first to know yourself as not me. Now try to follow this. Fight to keep up because it gets very subtle here. Are you ready? And then Neil says, I think so. Okay. Good. Remember, you've asked for this explanation. You've waited for it for years. You've asked for it in layman's terms, not theological doctrines or scientific theories. And having asked, so shall you receive. Now, to keep things simple, I'm going to use your children of God mythological model as a basis for discussion, because it is a model with which you are familiar, and in many ways it is not that far off, but it is not absolute fact. It is myth. It's mythological. It is not the absolute truth. This religious concept that we have about creation and about who God is, and that God looks like us, like a man somewhere, and things like us, and it's not the case, and that we're separate from that. All right? But it is not far off. So let's go back to how this process of self-knowing must work. I like this bit. In order for you to know yourself as me, you must first know yourself as not me. And I think this is our journey, our spiritual journey, as seeing ourselves as less than, as a completely different product to that which we call God and consider goodness and source and love. And then we go through a process of remembering who we really are, and that we in fact are parts of God. Collectively, we make up the God force. Okay. There is one way I could have caused all of my spiritual children to know themselves as part of me, and that was simple to tell them. This I did. But you see, it was not enough for spirit to simply know itself as God, or part of God, or children of God, or inheritors of the kingdom, or whatever mythology you want to use. As I've already explained, knowing something and experiencing it there are two different things. Spirit longed to know itself experientially, just as I did. Conceptual awareness was not enough for you. So I devised a plan. It is the most extraordinary idea in all the universe, and the most spectacular collaboration. I say collaboration because all of you are in it with me. Under the plan, you are pure spirit. You as pure spirit would enter this physical universe just created. This is because physicality is the only way to know experientially what you know conceptually. It is in fact the reason I created the physical cosmos to begin with, and the system of relativity which governs it and all creation. Once in the physical universe, you, my spirit children, could experience what you know of yourself, but first you had to come to know the opposite. To explain this simplistically, you cannot know yourself as tall unless and until you become aware of short. You cannot experience the part of yourself that you call fat unless you also come to know thin. Taken to ultimate logic, you cannot experience yourself as what you are until you have encountered what you are not. This is the purpose of the theory of relativity and all physical life. It is by that which you are not that you yourself are defined. Now, in the case of the ultimate knowing, in the case of knowing yourself as the creator, you cannot experience yourself as creator unless and until you create. And you cannot create yourself until you uncreate yourself. In a sense, you have to first not be in order to be. Do you follow? I think so, Neil says. Stay with it. Of course, there is no way for you to not be who and what you are. You simply are that pure creative spirit, have been always and always will be. So you did the next best thing. You caused yourself to forget who you really are. And this answers the question that comes up when we talk about past lives. But also when we talk about being spirit before we come into this body, why don't we remember it? You cause yourself to forget who you really are. Upon entering the physical universe, you relinquish your remembrance of yourself. This allows you to choose to be who you are, rather than simply wake up in the castle, so to speak. It is in the act of choosing to be, rather than simply being told that you are a part of God, that you experience yourself as being at total choice, which is what, by definition, God is. Yet how can you have a choice about something over which there is no choice? You cannot not be my offspring, no matter how hard you try. But you can forget. You are, have always been, and will always be a divine part of the divine whole, a member of the body. That is why the act of rejoining the whole, of returning to God, is called remembrance. You actually chose to remember who you really are, or to join together with the various parts of you to experience the all of you, which is to say, the all of me. Your job on earth, therefore, is not to learn because you already know, but to remember who you are and to remember who everyone else is. That is why a big part of your job is to remind others. That is to remind them so that they can remember also. All the wonderful spiritual teachers have been doing just that. It is your sole purpose. That is to say, your soul's purpose. And then Neil says, my God, this is so simple and so systematical. I mean, it all fits in. It all suddenly fits. I see now a picture I have never quite put together before. What do you think? And if you didn't quite grasp all of that, just go back, listen to it again. This is the explanation of why we are here and who we are. This is God telling us why we have forgotten before we came here and why we go through this process of remembering who we are. God responds, good, that is good. That is the purpose of the dialogue. You have asked me for answers. I have promised I would give them to you. You will make of this dialogue a book, and you will render my words accessible to many people. It is part of your work. Now you have many questions, many inquiries to make about life. We have here placed the foundation. We have laid the groundwork for other understandings. Let us go to these other questions, and do not worry. If there is something about what we've just gone through you don't thoroughly understand, I will also be clear. It will also be clear to you soon enough. Okay, and then Neil says, there is so much I want to ask. There are so many questions. I suppose I should start with the big ones. The obvious ones, like, why is the world in the shape it is in? And then God answers. Of all the questions man has asked God, this is one asked most often. From the beginning of time, man has asked it. From the first moment to this, you have wanted to know, why must it all be like this? The classic posing of the question is usually something like, if God is all perfect and all-knowing, why should God create pestilence and famine, war and disease, earthquakes and tornadoes and hurricanes and all manner of natural disaster, deep personal disappointment and worldwide calamity? The answer to this question lies in the deeper mystery of the universe and the higher meaning of life. I do not show my goodness by creating only what you call perfection all around you. I do not demonstrate my love by not allowing you to demonstrate yours. As I have already explained, you cannot demonstrate love until you can demonstrate not loving. A thing cannot exist without its opposite, except in the world of the absolute. Yet, the realm of the absolute was not sufficient for either you or me. I existed there in the always, and it was from where you too have come. You too have come from the always. In the absolute there is no experience, only knowing. No experience, only knowing. Knowing is a divine state, yet the grandest joy is in being. Knowing is a divine state, yes. Yet the grandest joy is in being. Being is achieved only after experience. The evolution is this: knowing, experiencing, being. This is the Holy Trinity, the triune that is God. God the Father is knowing, the parent of all understanding, the begetter of all experience, for you cannot experience that which you do not know. God the Son is experiencing, the embodiment, the acting out of all that the Father knows of itself, for you cannot be that which you have not experienced. God the Holy Spirit is being, the disembodiment of all that the Son has experienced of itself, the simple, exquisite isness possible only through the memory of the knowing of experiencing. This simple being is bliss. It is God's state after knowing and experiencing itself. It is that for which God yearned in the beginning. Of course, you are well past the point where you must have it explained to you that the Father-Son descriptions of God have nothing to do with gender. I use here the picturesque speech of your most recent scriptures. Much earlier holy writings place the metaphor in a mother-daughter context. Neither is correct. Your mind can best hold the relationship as parent-offspring, or that which gives rise to, and that which is risen. Adding the third part of the Trinity produces this relationship. That which gives rise to, that which is risen, that which is. This triune reality is God's signature. It is divine pattern. The three in one is everywhere, found in the realms of the sublime. You cannot escape it in matters dealing with time and space, God and consciousness, or any of the subtle relationships. On the other hand, you will not find the triune truth in any of life's gross relationships. The triune truth is recognized in life's subtle relationships. By everyone dealing with such relationships, some of your religionists have described the triune truth as Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. Some of your psychiatrists use the term subconscious, conscious, and some of your psychiatrists use the term as superconscious, conscious, and subconscious. Some of your spiritualists say mind, body, and spirit. Some of your scientists see energy, matter, ether. Some of your philosophers say a thing is not true for you until it is true in thought, word, and deed. When discussing time, you speak of 3 times only: past, present, and future. Similarly, there are 3 moments in your perception: before, now, and after. In terms of spatial relationships, whether considered the points of the universe or various points in your own room, you recognize here, there, and the space in between. Fascinating, isn't it? In matters of gross relationship, you recognize no in-between. That is because gross relationships are always dyads, whereas relationships of the higher realm are invariably triads. Hence, there is left, right, up, down, big, small, fast, slow, hot, cold, and the greatest dyad ever created, male, female. There are no in-betweens in these dyads. A thing is either one thing or the other, or some greater or lesser version in relationship to one of these polarities. Within the realm of gross relationships, nothing conceptualized can exist without a conceptualization of the opposite. Most of your day-to-day experience is foundationed on this reality. Within the realm of sublime relationship, nothing which exists has an opposite. All is one, and everything progresses from one to the other in a never-ending cycle. Time is such a sublime realm in which what you call past, present, and future exist interrelationally. That is, they are not opposites, but rather parts of the same whole, progressions of the same idea, cycles of the same energy, aspects of the same immutable truth. If you conclude from this that past, present, and future exists at one and the same time, you are right. Yet, now is not the moment to discuss that. We can get into this in much greater detail when we explore the whole concept of time, which we will do later. The world is the way it is because it could not be any other way and still exist in the gross realm of physicality. All right? Earthquakes and hurricanes, floods and tornadoes and events that you call natural disasters are but movements of the elements from one polarity to the other. The whole birth-death cycle is part of the movement. These are the rhythms of life, and everything in gross reality is subject to them, because life itself is a rhythm. It is a wave, a vibration, a pulsation at the very heart of the all that is. Illness and disease are opposites of health and wellness, and you made manifest in your reality at your behest. You cannot be ill without at some level causing yourself to be, and you can be well again in a moment by simply deciding to be. You are not made ill. You cause yourself to be ill and you decide to be well again. Deep personal disappointments are responses which are chosen. Deep personal disappointments are responses which are chosen. We choose those responses to an event or a situation. And worldwide calamities are the result of worldwide consequences. Your question infers that I choose these events, that it is my will and desire that they occur. Yet I do not will these things into being. I merely observe you doing so. This is what God says. I do not will these things into being. I merely observe you doing so. We're doing all of this. And I do nothing to stop them, because I do so, because to do so would be to thwart your will. That in turn would deprive you of the God experience, which is the experience you and I have chosen together. Do not condemn, therefore, all that you would call bad in this world. Rather ask yourself, what about this have you judged bad? And what, if anything, you wish to do to change it? What about this? What about what's happening have I judged as bad? And what, if anything, would I do to change it? Inquire within rather than without, asking what part of yourself do I wish to experience now in the face of this calamity? So our go-to is to judge someone or to hold people responsible for things that are going wrong. But what if instead we recognize and acknowledge we are all the creator, we are part of creating this which we perceive to be wrong. And instead of judging those outside of ourselves, we were to ask ourselves, what part of myself do I wish to experience now in the face of this calamity? What aspect of being do I choose to call forth? For all of life exists as a tool of your own creation, and all of its events merely present themselves as opportunities for you to decide to be who you are. This is true for every soul, and so you see that there are no victims in the universe, only creators. There are no victims in the universe, only creators. Just sit with that for a moment and tell me what you think. The masters who have walked this planet all knew this. That is why no matter which master you might name, none imagined themselves to be victimized, though many were truly crucified. Each soul is a master, though some do not remember their origins or their heritages. Yet each creates the situation and the circumstances for its own highest purpose and its own quickest remembering, in each moment called now. Judge not then the karmic path walked by another. Envy not success, nor pity failure, for you know not what is success or failure in the soul's reckoning. Call not a thing calamity, nor joyous event, until you decide or witness how it is used. For is death a calamity if it saves the lives of thousands? And is life a joyous event if it has caused nothing but grief? Yet even this you should not judge, but keep always your own counsel and allow others theirs. This does not mean ignore a call for help, nor the urging of your own soul to work towards the change of some circumstances or conditions. It does mean avoiding labels and judgment while you do whatever you do, for each circumstance is a gift, and in each experience is hidden a treasure. This is powerful stuff. There once was a soul who knew itself to be the light. This was a new soul, and so anxious for experience, I am the light, it said. I am the light, yet all the knowing of it and all the saying of it could not substitute for the experience of it. And in the realm from which the soul emerged, there was nothing but the light. Every soul was grand, every soul was magnificent, and every soul shone with the brilliance of my awesome light. And so the little soul in question was a candle in the sun. In the midst of the grandest light, of which it was a part, it could not see itself nor experience itself as who and what it really is. Now it came to pass that the soul yearned and yearned to know itself. And so great was its yearning that one day it said, "Do you know, little one, what you must do to satisfy your yearning of yourself?" "Oh, what, God?" What? I'll do anything, the little soul said. You must separate yourself from the rest of us, I answered, and then you must call upon yourself the darkness. What is the darkness, O Holy One? The little soul asked. That which you are not, I replied, and the soul understood. And so this the soul did, removing itself from the all, yea, going even unto another realm. And in this realm the soul had the power to call into its experience all sorts of darkness. And this it did. Yet in the midst of all the darkness did it cry out, Father, Father, why hast thou forsaken me? Even as have you in your blackest times. Yet I have never forsaken you, but stand by you always, ready to remind you of who you really are, ready, always ready to call you home. Therefore be a light unto the darkness, and curse it not. Be a light unto the darkness, and curse it not. And forget not who you are in the moment of your encirclement by that which you are not, but do you praise to the creation, even as you seek to change it. And know that what you do in the time of your greatest trial can be your greatest triumph. For the experience you create is a statement of who you are and who you want to be. I have told you the story, the parable of the little soul and the sun, so that you might better understand why the world is the way it is and how it can change in an instant the moment everyone remembers the divine truth of their highest reality. Now, there are those who say that life is a school and that these things which you observe and experience in your life are for your learning. I have addressed this before, and I tell you again, you came into this life with nothing to learn. You have only to demonstrate what you already know. In demonstration of it will you function it out and create yourself anew. Through your experience, thus do you justify life and give it purpose. Thus do you render it holy. How beautiful. And then Neil asks, are you saying that all the bad things that happen to us are things of our own choosing? Do you mean that even the world's calamities and disasters are, at some level, created by us so that we can experience the opposite of who we are? And if so, isn't there some less painful way, less painful to ourselves and others, to create opportunities for us to experience ourselves? And then God says, you've asked several questions and they are all good ones. Let's take them one at a time. No, not all things which you call bad, which happen to you, are of your own choosing, not in the conscious sense which you mean. They are all of your own creation. You are always in the process of creating every moment, every minute, every day. How you can create, we'll go into later. For now, just take my word for it. You are a big creation machine and you are turning out a new manifestation literally as fast as you can think. Events, occurrences, happenings, conditions, circumstances, all are created out of consciousness. Individual consciousness is powerful enough. You can imagine what kind of creative energy is unleashed whenever two or more are gathered in my name. And mass consciousness. Why that is so powerful? It can create events and circumstances of worldwide important planetary consequences. It would not be accurate to say, not in the way you mean it, that you are choosing these consequences. You are not choosing them any more than I am choosing them. Like me, you are observing them and deciding who you are with regards to them. Yet there are no victims in the world and no villains, and neither are you a victim of the choices of others. At some level, you have all created that which you say you detest, and having created it, you have chosen it. I want to repeat that. At some level, you have all created that which you say you detest, and having created it, you have chosen it. This is an advanced level of thinking, and it is one which all masters reach sooner or later, for it is only when you can accept responsibility for all of it that they can achieve the power to change part of it. So long as you entertain the notion that there is something or someone out there doing it to you, you disempower yourself to do anything about it. Only when you say, I did this, can you find the power to change it. It is much easier to change what you are doing than to change what another is doing. The first step in changing anything is to know and accept that you have chosen it to be what it is. If you can't accept this on a personal level, agree to it through your understanding that we are all one. Seek then to create change, not because a thing is wrong, but because it no longer makes an accurate statement of who you are. There is only one reason to do anything as a statement to the universe of who you are. Do what you are doing. Respond to a situation or a circumstance or a condition as a statement of who you are. Used in this way, life becomes self-creative. You use life to create yourself as who you are and who you've always wanted to be. There is also only one reason to undo anything, because it is no longer a statement of who you want to be. Undo a thing, undo a relationship, undo a situation, undo a circumstance, change something, because it is no longer a statement of who you want to be. It does not reflect you. It does not represent you. That is, it does not represent you. If you wish to be accurately represented, you must work to change anything in your life which does not fit into the picture of you that you wish to project into eternity. In the larger sense, all the bad things that happen are of your choosing. All the bad things that happen are of your choosing. The mistake is not in choosing them, but in calling them bad. The mistake is not in calling the experience forth. The mistake is in calling it bad, in judging it as bad. For in calling them bad, you call yourself bad since you created them. This label you cannot accept. So rather than label yourself bad, you disown your own creations. It is this intellectual and spiritual dishonesty which lets you accept a world in which conditions are as they are. If you had to accept or even felt a deep inner sense of personal responsibility for the world, it would be a far different place. This world certainly be true this would certainly be true if everyone felt responsible. That this is so patently obvious is what makes it so utterly painful and so poignantly ironic. Wow. So our world could be a very, very different place if instead of blaming other people and certain groups of people, we all understood that we are one and took responsibility for it instead of judging it, and then things would be so different. The world would be a different place. What do you think? To imagine that it could be so simple. The world's natural calamities and disasters, its tornadoes and hurricanes, volcanoes and floods, its physical turmoils, are not created by you specifically. What is created by you is the degree to which these events touch your life. Events occur in the universe which no stretch to the imagination could claim you instigated or created. These events are created by the combined consciousness of man. All of the world co-creating together produces these experiences. what each of you do individually is move through them, deciding what, if anything, they mean to you, and who and what you are in relation to them. Thus, you create collectively and individually the life and times you are experiencing for the sole purpose of evolving. You've asked if there is a less painful way to undergo this process, and the answer is yes, yet nothing in your outward experience will change that, will have changed. The way to reduce the pain which you associate with earthly experiences and events, both yours and those of others, is to change the way you behold them, the meaning you give to them. Just think about that. How much power we have in our ability to choose how we respond and what meaning we give to events and situations. You cannot change the outer event, for that has been created by a lot of you, and you are not grown enough in your consciousness to alter individually that which has been created collectively. So you must change the inner experience. This is the road to mastery in living. Nothing is painful in and of itself. Pain is a result of wrong thought. It is an error in your thinking. How I think of a situation, what meaning I attach to an event, is what causes me joy, satisfaction, or pain. A master can disappear the most grievous pain in this way. The master heals. That's what healing is. It's shifting your perspective on events that you have deemed to be destructive of your soul and you as a being. That's what a lot of the process work is with my clients, in helping them to take a different look, a more empowered look at this, at what you've created. Pain results from a judgment you have made about a thing. Remove the judgment and the pain disappears, guys. Remove the judgment and the pain disappears. Powerful stuff. Judgment is often based upon previous experience. Your idea about a thing derives from a prior idea about that thing. Your prior idea results from a still prior idea, and that idea from another, and so forth, like building blocks, until you get all the way back to the hall of mirrors, to what I call the first thought. All thought is creative, and no thought is more powerful than original thought. This is why this is sometimes also called original sin. Original sin is when you first thought about a thing. Original sin is when your first thought about a thing is in error. That error is compounded many times over when you have a second or third thought about a thing. It is the job of the Holy Spirit to inspire you to new understanding, which can free you from your mistakes. Are you saying that I shouldn't feel bad about the starving children in Africa, the violence and injustice in America, the earthquake that kills hundreds in Brazil? Neil asks. And God responds, there are no shoulds and or should nots in God's world. Do what you want to do. Do what reflects you, what represents you as a grander version of yourself. If you want to feel bad, feel bad. But judge not, and neither condemn, for you know not why a thing occurs, nor what to end, nor to what end. And remember you this, that which you condemn will condemn you, and that which you judge will one day become. That which we condemn will condemn us, and that which we judge will one day become. When you judge something, it becomes. You make it manifest in your experience. Rather seek to change those things or support others who are changing those things, which no longer reflect your higher sense of who you are. Yet bless all, for all is the creation of God through life living, and that is the highest creation. Beautiful. Guys, I'm going to stop there. I didn't give too much of my own input because I think that a lot of what was read today is self-explanatory. I really look forward to hearing your thoughts on these different insights and this message from God about why we are here and why the world is in the state that it is and why we experience pain. I hope you enjoyed this, and until next time, be good to yourself. You are creating your reality. Allow yourself to choose love whenever you are able, whenever you are consciously making that choice. And remember that fear is the absence of your God force. Love and light. Until next time. Bye now.